Yeah, I've been reading a few things about RVers and people living in vans and stuff like that. And a lot of them have talked about how they have issues with, police and all that, how a lot of areas it's not legal to sort of just pull up on the side of the road and stay on the side of the road in your van and stuff like that, and how you get little fines for sleeping in your vehicle and things like that. And yeah, things in Australia are very different from that. What's basically happened is there's what we call the baby boomer generation, which is basically my parents' generation. During World War II, vast amounts of the country were involved in the war. Some, were literally overseas fighting it, trying to stop them from getting to our borders. And, some were over in Europe helping the British. Many of them were involved in farming, or what they used to call the land army, which most women were involved in doing farm work, and they called that the land army. Like, for instance, my grandmother's sister was in the land army. My grandfather was actually on scene in Papua New Guinea. He was in the 39th Battalion, amongst the very first to even, get there when the Japanese had already got there, sort of thing. Saw some pretty messed up shit. But anyway, when these people come back from war, most of them, like my grandfather were in their early 20s. They're like, 21 to 23 years old. And back then that was sort of the time you got married. So when they come back from the war, first thing they done was got married. Some have actually got married before they left. And others, a lot of them also married when they come back. The majority, I think, married when they come back. But what basically happened is they had kids straight away, and those kids are my parents' generation. Now, this generation, there's a lot of them. They're baby boomers, basically. And there's become a large common idea that when we're sort of in the southeast of the country, when it gets cold in the winter, they don't hang around to freeze and run the power bill through the roof trying to keep warm and whatnot. They all decide to go to Queensland, the northeast of the country. And I mean, this isn't a bit of an idea of one or two. I mean, when they go up there, it's winter up there, but it is 73 degrees Fahrenheit and stuff like this in the winter up north. So they all love going up there. Fantastic. You can wear shorts and stuff like that. And they go up there, and because it's sort of not the tourist season in the winter, well, it might not be the tourist season, but it is the grey nomad season. They said that more than 80%, my parents have been telling me more than 80%, sometimes literally everyone but one or two backpackers, Germans or whoever else, English or whatever, that are backpacking around the country, literally the whole caravan park, the whole trailer park will be full of grey nomads, aside from maybe, 2 vans that are foreign tourists. And yeah, there's a lot of very good perks. They actually make the government, local governments, see it as quite simply as tourist dollars. And so they're not trying to scare them off. They're very happy to have them, because usually it's the season of tourism that dies off in the winter, and all of a sudden, bada bing, these people have got a decent rolling income. These tourist operators got a decent rolling income in the winter, whereas traditionally they were all trying to go and get part-time work and casual work, playing around somewhere else, with these day jobs and stuff like that. But now, their business is roaring in the winter, and it never had been until all of my parents' generation retired. And the local government sets up little areas now. Of course, there's state parks, but there's also areas near some of these state parks and that on the side of roads where they have, a bit of government land or whatever, and they go and set up one of these things for you to stay at. And usually, they at least have seating. They often have toilets, but there's some of them that are that good that they actually have coin-operated showers and toilets there, and they always have, picnic seating and rubbish bins. But what they have is you can stay in some parks, and other parks you can't. And these areas outside of town, you can often stay in them. But they have like a limit where you got to stay for no more than 4 days. And then you've got to leave the area for like 10 days or 14 days or something like that. This is New South Wales I'm talking about, which is sort of Victoria's where we are down the south east. Then there's New South Wales and there's Queensland above that. But a lot of these places are all the same. All these states on the eastern side of Australia are pretty much the same. Western Australia, I think, is like that, but there's some areas where they're a bit funny about it all. And I think it's a bit different with Western Australia. I think they're a hell of a lot tighter with it. Couldn't really tell you about Northern Territory because very few people go there. Very few people even live there. South Australia, I think, is not too bad. It's a bit worse, but not too bad. I think WA is a bit funny. But yeah, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland are really good. You can, when you're in New South Wales, you can buy some sort of pass, which is like $15, and it goes for 6 months, and that allows you, it's like a permit, little thing. They don't ask any questions. It's, name, address, boom, 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 write it down, maybe vehicle registration number, and yeah, that $15 permit will go for 6 months, and you can pretty much stay in all these state parks so long as you don't stay any more than like 4 days, with no question to ask if you got this lousy little $12 or $15 permit. And, things are so smooth it's not funny. We've got it so good in regards to that. And I think, while they may have had, well, they did, actually, my uncle told me he did get a bit of grief in the 1970s with sleeping in cars, and the cops used to, come on, you got to move on. But, while they have a lot of picky laws and rubbish in Australia that just pedantic, they never sort of generated any against sleeping in vans on the side of the road and stuff like that. But now, they don't have a hope in hell of starting any laws against it. First of all, they may make little permits and stuff like that, but that's about as far as it's going to go. Second of all, they think of them as tourist dollars. And third of all, if you try to put up some sort of resistance against the whole generation of my parents, who are grey nomads, as they refer to these travellers, they would literally start a camp. They're all flaming hooked on the internet, mind you, these people. They're all on the blooming Facebook and whatnot. They would literally start a campaign to boycott your whole area, and they would just chop your tourist dollar down. And the other thing is, they would, you'd be rising up against only a couple of million people. They'd flame and roll you. People power would absolutely crush you if you started any smarty pants laws against it. Or they'd quite simply just drive through and you'd miss out on all your winter tourist dollars. And that'd be that. They'd just ignore you, they'd boycott you, they'd be talking about you on the forums and amongst Facebook. That, local government, county, shire, whatever you want to call it, they're a-holes, don't bother. And people get to know, don't bother. And even after you did change the laws to be able to allow these people to stay, the rumour would still be going around, so none of them would still stay. So the rumour would still be there for like another 3 years plus afterwards, and people would still bypass it, even when you change the law to suit them. So I think the sheer numbers of people power, they wouldn't dare turn against them because they'd get eaten alive by them. They'd have that many blooming whinging letters and And then the tourism operators would jack up and go, "You've stuffed all our business up for us. Everyone else has got blooming tourist dollars during the winter except us, and it's your bloody fault." You know, all this sort of stuff at the start. When I do find out a few more of the exact details, particularly on Queensland and New South Wales, I will put them in the description, but I've got to talk to my mother about it because she's down pat on a lot of it. Oh, they have $50 books you get, like $40–50, and these books list all the states of Australia, every state park, national park, camping area, everything, if you need a permit or you don't, and what permit will allow you to be in there, if they've got water there, like taps, so you can refill the water tanks in your trailer home or your RV. They've got, if it's got barbecues there, if it's got toilets there, if it's got coin-operated showers there, and all these little things. So they've basically got them all listed, where they are, what shire they're in, what the GPS location is, and all these umpteen symbols, and you've got to learn to read the symbols, which they've got in the front cover, all the symbols that say what things they do and don't have, and maybe even symbols showing what permit you need, if any, to go in there, and possibly even who is like responsible for that area, if the bins are full, or if you have any trouble, you know, with any sort of authority hassling you, exactly who does have command over that area, and it's just pages and pages, and you know, basically it's a complete rundown, and they go and sell all these books at these RV shows and that, and yeah, so you know, and some of them have got like complete maps, you know, or you have another book with a complete map of all the flaming back roads and everything of all these states, and that plus your other book that you're flying, you know. A lot of these people got very good RVs. My parents are going to get a top-notch trailer home. Most of them don't have RVs. Most of them have trailer homes, but you got, you know, these things got built-in water tanks, shower systems, and mains air conditioning, more or less as standard. My parents' one even has a washing machine. I am not joking. And of course the fridge is standard. But yeah, that's about that.